And it's just one part of Stephen Coniglio's life that is quickly gathering momentum in a year where the West Australian has rapidly emerged as a Brownlow Medal contender. The restaurant is called Macellaria, and if you have wandered down Swan Street in Richmond at night, it's the one with the people milling out the front like a nightclub waiting to secure a table. It's one of 3 restaurants, the other 2 in Sydney, where Coniglio is involved in the Newton one, as well as the Melbourne outpost. The other part of Coniglio's life that is much more well-known is at the Giants. Round 5 after arriving at Greater Western Sydney ahead of its inception in 2012 as its highly coveted No. 2 pick, Coniglio will become just the 8th Giant to play 100 games when he runs on to Etihad Stadium to face St Kilda on Saturday. Along the journey to his first 100 games, Coniglio hasn't had it all his own way. Far from it, in fact. Listen to the latest episode of the Fox Footy podcast below, or tap here to subscribe in iTunes. Despite being an underage gun in the West, it took him time to find his feet at the highest level and time to emerge from beneath a plethora of stars to establish himself as a star in his own right. With so many Ferraris in the Giants' engine room, Callan Ward, Dylan Shiel, Josh Kelly, Tom Scully and Richie Whitfield, plus Adam Treloar, Devon Smith and Taylor Adams before they left, Coniglio battled for midfield minutes for some time. Not anymore. After the first month of 2018, he has entrenched himself in the upper echelon of midfielders in the land. And many believe the two-way runner is firmly in Brownlow Medal calculations, alongside the likes of Tom Mitchell, Nat Fyfe and Steele Sidebottom. Worst injuries so far, but before he reached this point, the 24-year-old was forced to learn more about himself during what could prove to be a career-defining season in 2017. Live-stream the 2018 Toyota AFL Premiership on Fox Sports. Get your free 2-week trial greater than. If you're overseas, you can still stream it live on Watch AFL. Stephen Coniglio struggled with 2 syndesmosis injuries. Source: Getty Images. Not once but twice, his season ground to halt following the same syndesmosis injury. Setbacks against North Melbourne in the JLT Community Series. Then Collingwood, in his second game back, wiped a total of 16 weeks off his season last year. At the time it wasn't great, obviously, but looking back now, it was a time where I matured the most in my 7 years in the system. Those 2 syndesmosis injuries were the worst injuries I've had so far, but I tried to turn it into an opportunity rather than a setback. Coniglio told foxfooty.com.au, "For me it was about diving into a few areas that could actually help me when I came back and played. I look at both of those periods, it was only probably 2 hours after the game where I was filthy at the injury, but then I quickly moved on. If I didn't do that, then I might have been in a different situation. If I could give any advice to others that go through those situations, it's to see it as an opportunity to get better rather than just as a setback." Best mates. Powerful advice. One person he leaned on during his time out of the game is someone he has ridden the AFL ride with in Hawthorn star Jaeger O'Meara, who has been dealt with more than his fair share of injury setbacks. "Jaeger really helped me mentally get through some of those tough moments and how to turn them into opportunities. I did lean on him a lot of the time." Coniglio said, "The one thing that stood out with Jaeger was how unselfish and grateful he was. He reminded me a few times that there is always someone worse off. And that was really powerful. When I first did my syndesmosis, you want everyone to feel bad for you. But he said to me, the world doesn't revolve around you, there is always someone worse off. There is someone in a wheelchair who can't walk. You have only hurt your ankle. I'd only hurt my knee. It could be much worse." He missed such a big period out of the game, but he was so driven to get back to be the player he wanted to be. "I took a lot out of that when the shoe was on the other foot." O'Meara, who first crossed paths with Coniglio in the AFL Academy before forging a bond that has only been strengthened by the downtimes at the top, found the brother he never had. "For anyone that's met Steve, they'll know that he is a really genuine person. He cares for people and cares about all the little things. Steve was really good when I did mine initially. He provided that shoulder to cry on." O'Meara told foxfooty.com.au this week, "I'll never forget him coming up for my first game back from my knee issues. I was only playing a half in the NEAFL and he was playing that weekend for the Giants a day or 2 later and he still managed to fly up for it. And that's just the type of bloke he is. He'll do anything for his mates. That stems from his upbringing. He's got a really close-knit family and they are exactly the same. I grew up with 3 sisters, so I didn't have a brother growing up. I feel like it's kind of like having a brother to share that sort of stuff with. I didn't go through the draft system, but it was cool to see Steve go no. too, and it has been cool to watch his career evolve and watch him become an elite player in the AFL. Tough times. Coniglio has been at the Giants since the very start. Back when Kevin Sheedy was in charge and they were way out in the West, struggling to be taken seriously by the rest of Sydney and the rest of the competition. He was there when they were getting pummeled week in week out, once losing by 162 points to Hawthorn in the club's debut season. He has seen mates come and go, some to rival clubs and others onto the AFL scrap heap. Now he has come out the other side. The Giants have built a strong membership and corporate base, they have developed a strong brand in Sydney and, most importantly, they have almost built the team the AFL envisaged. They have fallen at the penultimate week of the season in each of the past 2 seasons. But while last year's loss to Richmond is more recent, the narrow loss to the Western Bulldogs the year earlier, on their home patch at Swan Stadium, still stings for Coniglio. Dejected GWS Giants player Stephen Coniglio after their preliminary final to loss to Western Bulldogs at Swan Stadium. Picture, Phil Hilliard. Source, News Corp Australia. Looking back at both now, the Bulldogs won always hurts more than the Richmond one. The Tigers were a team that just wanted it more than us, he said. But I think the year before, we genuinely had our chances and we played a really good game. We did a lot right, and that's what pisses me off the most. We were so close. We used the Bulldogs won as motivation throughout the year, but it is such a long year, that I don't think you can carry it all the way through for an entire season. I remember reading Stevie J's book during Grand Final week last year, and he actually said that, in the book, interests outside football. While football has always been Coniglio's primary focus, it's not the only path he wants to pursue. Through the guidance of Giants chief executive David Matthews and his tight relationship with former chief operating officer Richard Burnett, Coniglio has dipped his toes into the business world. That's how Coniglio, who is slowly but surely working his way through a Bachelor of Commerce degree, got involved in The Butcher That Cooks For You. And it's something he is looking to explore further in the coming months and years. Stephen Coniglio chased by Harry Perryman. Picture, Phil Hilliard. Source, News Corp Australia. I've always had a fascination of business, it's something I want to do. A lot of my mentors have been the entrepreneurial type. I've always had a lot of ideas about what I want to be when I finish footy, he said. Macellaria is a fantastic opportunity for me. Burnett has had a really interesting journey with his work. He worked at the AFL in Essendon. He's done some amazing stuff with charity and dealt with some difficult health issues with his kids. He was someone I could relate to and found fascinating with his business interests, leadership aspirations. Many believe Coniglio will be the man to replace Ward and Phil Davis when the Giants eventually replace their inaugural captains. He is the man that gets them going when the game is falling from their grasp, the heart and soul of the Giants, who is so desperate for the ultimate success. I think for me, leadership has always come quite naturally to me. I've got my parents and my family to thank for that. They are really selfless, so I was fortunate to be brought up so well. I like seeing others get better, improve and fulfill their dreams, he said. For me, when people ask me if I want to be captain one day, it's not really about that. I just want to be there to help. We've got Phil and Cal and they are such great leaders, who are both very different and have both taught me so much.